What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? I'm going to give people a few minutes before we get into things. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. So I'll come back in about 2 to 3 minutes. All right, it's approaching the 3 minute mark, so we'll be getting into today's topic. So today's topic is the current situations in the world tell us the solution. As everybody knows, there is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and that has galvanized the world. We see 24-hour news coverage, it's all over social media. You can't avoid talking about the issue. And I want to relate this to Black people because we see what's coming out of Ukraine, and this basically confirms what the BIO has been saying for the last couple of years, that nationhood is the only way. So, to give brief information, Russia attacked Ukraine and it started a conflict, especially with the NATO countries. Of course, NATO to be France, Germany, United States, Canada, all the imperialist colonial powers. And then you have Russia, who's trying to stop NATO expansion. So there's this conflict going on, and you see that the Western world has come down on Russia. They've imposed sanctions on Russia. They have tried to isolate Russia. They banned them from FIFA, from participating in the Paralympic events. They are doing all of this stuff to try to stop what Russia's doing in Ukraine. But we've all seen what's been going on out of Ukraine. You see Ukrainians threatening Black people. You see Ukrainians threatening to shoot Black people. You have Ukrainians making racist comments against Black people. We've seen the commentary. We've all seen the commentary of the Ukrainian situation. We've all seen it. But for those who may be on the rug, I know practically all of y'all have heard it. All of y'all have practically heard it. But for those who did not see the compilation, I'm going to give the compilation right now. Give me a moment. Alrighty, hold on. I have to find it. Yeah, but you see how they're referring to the Ukrainian conflict compared to what's going on in other parts of the world. While the situation in Ukraine was going on, you had Saudi Arabia bombing Yemen. You had the US government literally bombing Somalia. That has gotten no coverage, no international solidarity. We see Afghans selling their kidneys. I mean, this is what's going on, and yet you don't hear anything about it. Okay. And there's a reason for that. And this all goes back to the point of nationhood. It all goes back to nationhood. I mean, ideally, yes, they shouldn't be over there, but at the period. It is our job to bring Nigerians, Ghanaians, Liberians, people who are stuck in Ukraine. It is our job to make sure they're taken care of, period. It is our job to make sure they're taken care of. Let's talk about this one. Now, I'm about to show this to everybody who didn't see it. Um, I'm about to show it to everybody. I'm about to show it to everybody. Let me just show this to everybody. I want everybody to hear this so people know.
Now with the Russians marching in, it's changed the calculus entirely. Tens of thousands of people have tried to flee the city. There will be many more. People are hiding out in bomb shelters. But this isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too, city where you wouldn't expect that or hope that it's going to happen. So it's partly human nature, but they are not in denial.
Y'all heard that? He said, quote unquote, this is a civilized place, meaning it's okay to drop bombs on Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, and Somalia, and Libya, and Niger, all the black and brown countries. But you, when it comes to white folks, that's not supposed to happen. And this confirms our point. We need a nation of our own. We need to be independent. We need to be sovereign. Because look at what they're doing in America right now. They're shutting down certain media outlets. They're labeling people as quote unquote Russian state affiliate media, even though some people have nothing to do with that. That's what they're doing. You have people right now discrediting Africans in Ukraine, saying they are Russian bots and Russian agents. This is what they're saying about us. And you got black folks. I'm gonna point out exactly who is the FBI and ADOL saying, why can't they give us reparations? Why can't they protect us at home? You don't run the government. You don't run anything. Matter of fact, let me look up the word ownership. Let's talk about the word ownership. What does the word ownership mean? What does it mean to own something? Let's look at the definition of the word ownership. Okay. Let's talk about it. What does ownership mean? What does it mean to own something? Because people say this is our country. What does it mean to own something? Here is the definition of own. Okay. Here is the definition of the word ownership or to own. Let's look up what that word means so people can understand what it means. All right. Here's the definition of the word own. That is what the word own means. The word own means to indicate something belongs to a particular person or thing, to indicate that something is used by or is characteristic of only one person, thing, or group, to indicate that someone does something without help from other people. But let's go back to the first definition. Belongs to a particular person or thing. That's what own means. Americans, i.e., white folks in the US, are showing a lot of love for Ukrainians without having to be prompted by a megaphone. 61,000 people, one half from the US, have purchased Airbnb rooms for Ukrainians to provide money. Exactly. But they never did this for Syrians, Afghans, and Somalis, Yemenis. They didn't do none of this. It shows you the blatant hypocrisy and disingenuous outrage. Manufactured consent. Do you think the Ukraine situation would lead to World War III? No, because if it did, it would lead to the end of humanity. I'm pretty sure think people wouldn't want a nuclear war or a disastrous war. So I don't think Fly Guy would happen. But this all goes back to the point, black people, of why we need a nation. This whole Russia-Ukraine situation shows us that America does not care about you. They only care about their interests and their interests first. And they will put you to the back burner. They said you were Russian bots. You were Russian assets, white liberals. They're calling you Russian assets for exposing what's going on in Ukraine. The Azov Battalion. Them holding black people at gunpoint. Them stopping black folks from crossing the border. They're making racist statements talking about they're being civilized, them being white, not refugees. That's literally what they're saying. But you're supposed to go and cape for them. You're supposed to care about them. Now, I'm not in favor of war. I don't agree with war at all. But remember, black people, remember every black person who's watching this. When the wars were happening in Yemen and Somalia, those same white people were making jokes about you. They weren't protesting, they weren't marching, expressing solidarity. There were no Yemeni flags being raised. There were no Iraqi flags being raised. There were no Syrian flags being raised. There were no Somali flags being raised. There were no Congolese. Look at what they did with Ethiopia. They were funding Tigray rebels. There were no Ethiopian flags. There were no Nigerian flags. There were no Mali flags. There were no none of that. Exactly. That's what the goal should be. The goal should be to get immigrants out of Ukraine, African immigrants out of Ukraine. That's what the goal should be. But see, this is what happens when you're a nation. When you're a nation, we can do that. Look at all the black folks, the African Americans who may be in Ukraine that are finding it difficult to get out. You don't have a nation state. You're dependent on the US Embassy. That's why we say nationhood. When something happens to you as an African American and the American Embassy blatantly disregards you, where do you go? Tell us, where do you go? Who stands for your interests? You got a lot of black people saying we shouldn't worry about what's going on in Ukraine. Here's the thing, you don't run the government. It doesn't belong to you. You're not the majority in parliament. You're not the majority of the House of Representatives. You're not the majority in local and state. You don't run anything. So you're tied to American policy. That's why I can't get mad. That's why I ain't frustrated, because I know I live here. It's the same thing. It's the same thing you had in Howard. And I need to find it. Let me let me show y'all this. Let me show y'all this. Let me show y'all. If I can. This. I want y'all to look at this. Just so you know, I want y'all to look at this. I'm about to share my screen. I want y'all to look at this to show you. This is from Mecca. It says Howard lost his ways. Now look at what she's talking about, y'all. Look at what she's talking about.
African Takeover Day at Howard University. African.
That's what she said is Howard losing his way. Mind you, you do not run the government. You do not run Howard. Howard was literally founded by a white man, by the way. If you look up the founding of Howard. And Howard has a history of Pan-Africanism as well. As a matter of fact, the man that we interviewed for Liberian history went to Howard University. So what are you talking about? You complaining about stuff you don't own. You don't run. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Fly Guy. I don't care about what white dominated countries sympathizing for. They have black African people. They have shown how disingenuous they are when it comes to us and other group of people. Exactly. Americans, i.e., white folks, will be willing to provide billions for infrastructure and economic outlets to Ukraine without pushback instead of giving slavery reparation to age. Your views, Jabari? Once again, what benefit do white people get? That's when you got to ask.
What's up, Jabari?
What's up? I'll let you out the floor. I'm about to give me something to drink real quick.
Well, to address what Baruti just said, it's like we don't have any leverage, and it's not in their interest to uplift us economically. And I think one of the biggest problems, and I've been having this conversation with Ronan Black, because, and I think that it's something that he seems to understand, and anybody that's an athlete or a competitor seems to have the same mindset when it comes to this overall situation. It's like Ronan and me was saying, like we were using the analogy of Doctor Doom from Marvel Comics. If you look at that character, Doctor Doom, um, Doctor Doom is not interested in leverage. Doctor Doom is not interested in um, set asides. Doctor Doom is not interested with working with other people toward and this. It's like reparations and all of this, economic funding and all of this other stuff. Doctor Doom is interested in complete, total control and takeover. And from an athlete and a competitor standpoint, Ronan understands this because he's played football. And if anybody has played competitive sports, they realize just how difficult it is to put together a winning team. There are teams that have played in the NFL since the beginning of the NFL and have not won a Super Bowl. That's how difficult it is to win the Super Bowl. That's how difficult it is to put together a winning team. So then what separates the winning teams from the teams that just playing the game? Playing every year, losing, and never going to the playoffs and never going to the championship. What separates those teams? It's a mentality. And I judge us, and I judge our representatives, and I judge our leadership, and I judge people by what I hear coming out of their mouth. And if what I hear coming out of their mouth is, well, we need to, work with this one, and we need to, have alliances and coalitions, and we need to petition the people in power for this, then it means that you're a fucking loser. Do you think the Asians are concerned, the Chinese in particular, are concerned about alliances and coalitions for power? They want power. They want to be the number one superpower on the planet. And they're poised to be that. Some would say they're even that now.
And to go back, you notice how China developed its own internet, its own banking system, its own e-commerce for this exact reason. Look at what happened when Russia got out of line with the West. They started cutting them off financially, putting sanctions on them, removing them from SWIFT. If you don't own the means of production, you do not own your natural resource, you do not own the things in your country, it can be weaponized. And that's what's happening with Russia right now. It's being weaponized.
Let me ask you something, Jabari, just to go in line with what you're saying. Let's just fast forward. Let's pretend this is the Marvel universe and we can have, like, a multiverse. And in this multiverse, Africa is united. In this multiverse, all the countries of Africa are united on the continent, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's standards, there's business practices, all of it is unified across the continent. Who can put sanctions on us?
Nobody. The sanctions wouldn't work.
Because we have everything we need on our continent.
And you own the means of production.
You
have your own payment system. You have your own e-commerce, your own internet. So you could kick off Facebook and Twitter because we have an African version of it. We have an African version of YouTube. You have an alternative. So they can't weaponize it against you.
I have to say something because this is heavy on my mind. So just bear with me a second, because I've been having this conversation with Ronan. I've been having this conversation with other brothers who are a little bit more not as puritanical when it comes to how we deal with this Black Power situation. The wrong people are holding the microphone. The wrong people are in power. Well, I won't even say power because we don't have any. But the wrong people are controlling the narrative and the microphone. The wrong people are speaking for us. And I made this analogy before that we're playing Gary Kasparov, like the grandmaster chess player from Russia. And instead of us being able to play him, we got people playing for us that are incompetent, who don't even know how to play chess. So Gary Kasparov is just checkmating them back and forth. The moment they make one move, he already know they done lost the game because he could see 14 moves ahead. And we're just sitting back. Now, we're grandmaster chess players too, but we can't play him. We have to sit back and watch incompetent people try to play Gary Kasparov. That's the situation that the BAIO is in. That's the situation that Black people in America are in. We don't have people that want power. Because if we had people that want power, nationhood, land infrastructure nationhood should be a no-brainer. That should be a common denominator amongst all religious groups, all spiritual groups, all cultural groups. If you're in America and you're Black or whatever you want to define, you want to be copper colored, whatever you want to call yourself. If that's not your common denominator, then what are you going for? I mean, I've had people tell me, "Oh, well, we can't have a nation." I say, "All right. So if we can't have a nation, then what's the solution?" The solution is to leave power in the hands of other people so that they can protect our lives and have our destiny in their hands. That's the solution. That's what you're going to. So if you have a child, you're not going to teach your child to obtain power. You're going to teach your child to live under and try to be equal under someone else's power structure. And then people get mad at me when I call you a bitch. People get mad at me when I say that you're not a man, because there's not a man on the face of this earth that wants to be under another man, to live under the social, economic, and political structure of other men. There's no group, no ethnic group on this planet that will accept that. But for some reason, the Black men that and I won't say all Black men because all Black men don't accept it, but the ones that we have with the big ass microphones, they are very comfortable with it. And I've actually talked to sisters. Why is it me and Akira, she's in the group in the chat right now, peace sis. We were having a conversation and the subject turned to self-defense. If you go to the Japanese and you do something to the Japanese, then you got to deal with the Yakuza. If you do something to the Italians, you got to deal with the mafia. If you do something to the Chinese, you got to deal with the triad. If you do something to the Jews, you got to deal with the Mossad. Who do you have to deal with if you do something to Black people?
Exactly. If you do anything in their countries, the police come after you. We ain't got no police. So
what way do we have to punish people that do us wrong? What system do we have in place? This is not something. I'm going to be gentle in how I say this, but I guess read between the lines. We ain't going to protest our way out of this. We ain't going to petition our way out of this. And we're not going to write a strongly worded letter out of this. People need to make a fucking decision. What are we going to do going into the future? Jabari, I mean, this is something that I wanted to talk to you about privately, but I guess it's no. How does this affect, like this whole thing going on internationally? How does this affect our trip?
it doesn't affect us particularly with Liberia because we would still be able to travel. But at the same time, this affects us because let's say people with gas prices going up. If
Right.
gas prices is going up, then some people may not be able, if they were to go in, they might not be able to afford because gas prices are high and they may need to travel a lot. Okay.
Right.
Also, let's take into a factor that in some countries, there's Russia is a big exporter of wheat, or same as Ukraine. So now you're in a situation where wheat prices, food prices go up. This is the thing that we keep talking about, having your own nation, your own means of controlling your reality. Because we saw this, I sent you that thing in the chat, but like they said, African Americans need to be reminded that you are tied to American policy. It doesn't matter whether or not you agree or disagree. You don't have your own government that can speak specifically for you and for your needs. Whatever America does, that's what happened. Look at what happened with Brittany Griner. Look at what happened with Brittany Griner. Did you know what happened with Brittany Griner?
Nah, familiarize me.
So, because of the conflict with US and Russia, Brittany Griner plays basketball in Russia because they get more money over there and they get more playing time since the WNBA doesn't pay for money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you doesn't get a lot of money? Do you know because of this conflict they detained Brittany Griner, and she's been detained for at least 3 weeks? I think so. She can't get
Oh,
back.
okay. Yeah, I did hear about that.
See what happens?
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got nothing to do with that situation, but because the fact that we're tied to America, you're
Oh, can I
your
build on that?
yes.
Let me build on that. There's a contingent of people in our African Americans here in this country who have the attitude that this has nothing to do with us. Guess what, nigga? It has a lot to do with you. As a matter of fact, it has everything to do with you. Don't try to separate yourself from your country. This is we talk about having our country and having social, economic, and political control over our reality in Liberia. You Negroes talk about being Americans. So guess what? Russia is your enemy. You don't have no say in that. You are tied politically to the interests of your country. And this is your country. This is the one that you're so goddamn proud of. You proud to be an American. You can't stand Pan-Africans, can't stand Africa. So then guess what? Suit up. Suit up and join the interests of your country because your country is saying that Russia is your enemy. So they're your enemy by default, whether you like it or not. Don't try to separate yourself from this country. If you weren't doing it before, don't do it now.
Exactly. Like I said, you hip tied yourself to America. So now Russia sees you as an American and they're gonna retaliate. Now you could say, like I said, we ain't got nothing to do with it, but the reality of it is because of the fact that we don't have a nation to speak for us, you become cannon fodder. That's what you are. You're collateral.
Let's say they hypothetically started a draft.
You're fighting,
Exactly.
or you go to jail.
Exactly. In your country. See what that tying yourself to America does to you? But see, this is the thing. Cowards are controlling the mic. Cowards are the ones that's telling you, oh, you can't have a nation of your own. You shouldn't have social, economic, and political control. Liberia is not a first world nation. All of these fucking
But
excuses.
guess what? But guess what though? But guess what though? Those countries get to speak for themselves at the UN. They can decide whether or not they vote for or against. You don't get
Right.
that say. So even though the Central African Republic has a conflict going on and it may not be first world, they end up running the society. They control their leadership gets to choose how they navigate the situation. Look at case in point when you have your own country, Venezuela and Iran. The US government has tried to sabotage Venezuela, tried to assassinate the president, make somebody
Mm-hmm.
else the president. And
Yep.
the Venezuelans refuse to accept US domination. They refuse to be subjugated to US imperialism. And now what is the US trying to do? They run into Venezuela asking, will you side with us against Russia?
That is hysterical. That is hysterical that they would even have the balls to do that.
And the Venezuelans said, no, sir. They, they were cheering. You should have seen how they were treating the Russian ambassador. They made it very clear to America, you're not coming here and doing that. No, 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 no. We're not going to side with you when you try to overthrow our government, assassinate our leader, put sanctions on us, inflated our economy, and think
Like,
you're gonna come here. Same
how
thing when
could
you
they even think that they would get away with that? Is what it just shows you the arrogance of these people.
it is. And the thing about it is they'll tell you that the world is against Russia. No, it's not. The Western world is against Russia, not the rest of the world. The countries that abstained from working with the West, most of them came from the African continent in South America and Asia. The countries that abstained were South Africa, Senegal, Eritrea voted against it. China abstained. India abstained. You see the difference? When you're your own country, you get to navigate the political system your way. You get to see now. Venezuela has the ball up its court now. Venezuela dictates now. You see the difference? You see the
Sometimes,
difference.
Jabari, we make things more complicated than they actually are.
They
I
don't
asked
want
this
in.
question. I asked this question. If your house is dirty, what do you do about it?
You clean it.
Thank you. It's real simple. So I'm not like, so when people want to raise this argument about well, this isn't up to par. This is what is your job to clean up your house. If your
Mm-hmm.
house gets dirty, what do? Oh, just move. And guess what? The house you go to then, if that gets dirty, you're gonna move again.
Mm-hmm.
Clean up your fucking house. Maintain your existence and your reality.
And think about what they are doing. And I like what Flagger identify with Liberia more too. Think about what's going on in South Africa, right? When South Africa is saying the German embassy was like, oh, don't support Russia. Even though Russia supported South Africa against apartheid when the U.S. and the West supported apartheid, the Afrikaner regime. You have some white South Africans saying, oh, we support Ukraine. Them black South Africans was quick to put them back in their place and say you out of order.
Mhm.
That's what happens when you run the country. Even though white South Africans may have some control economically, politically, black folks run the show. And when they was out of line, they put them back in order.
Yeah, I told everybody about the story in Rwanda. In Rwanda, I keep saying Rwanda. It's Rwanda.
Rhonda.
When we went there and we were having a conversation, and they were talking about a German banker woman who disrespected the Rwandan people and said that they were monkeys or something. This was like an internal email within the company. They didn't protest. There was zero protest. You know what they did?
You better
The
leave.
government said you got to be out of here. They did the Dolomite on her. You got 24 hours to leave, and 23 of them are already gone. They got her up out of their country. You can only do that if you control the country.
Exactly.
Why are we having this conversation at this 2022, Jabari, and we're
Hmm.
still trying to convince our people that nationhood is the way to go in
But like you,
2022?
but like you said, who's got the mic?
Right.
That like think about it. When you got people like Malcolm Nance and Jason Johnson, all these black mainstream pundits, Joy Reid, what do they think? Of course they're gonna think like that. There's not the mic on them. Is what to show y'all the effect of information warfare. Look at what they're doing to Russian television. They're banning it across the EU. You can't even get RT anymore.
Wow.
You can't even get RT. It's banned in Europe. They shut down RT
Can
America.
you get it on YouTube now, like in America?
No, they shut down RT America.
Wow. I did not know that. Hold on.
Yep, you can type it right now. RT America. They have officially closed down.
Wow.
That shows you what happens when you control. You control the information. You get to control what is broadcast and what isn't.
Wow. You're right. That doesn't surprise me. It's just I didn't think about that. Like I'm because I'm subscribed to RT.
But that shows you they only want you to hear what mainstream media says. Manufactured consent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody. Let's talk about that. How everybody who's these ADOS and FBA Negroes who don't want nothing to do with Africa and all of this other stuff. And maybe I'm being a little bit unfair because I just recently seen a video from Tariq Nasheed kind of defending the connection with Africa. So I'm kind of, if I don't know what the official stance with FBA is. Do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So I can't. Let me not leave them in that. I'll just address the ADOS people. Because we know they're anti-African. How come all of a sudden now all of y'all are experts on international politics? Somebody answer that question for me. If you're ADOS affiliate or you're a stand for them, how come you're talking about international politics now? Why is this Russia Ukraine thing something that you need to address and the situation with the Africans in the Ukraine? Why are you addressing that?
I
You
thought
want to
you weren't
speak on that?
African. I thought you
Yeah.
weren't African.
You want to speak on that whole situation about the Africans and what's going on to them in the Ukraine? Because maybe some people don't know.
Yeah, I said earlier, you have the Azov Battalion, a neo-Nazi group that's being supported by the Ukrainian military, part of the Ukrainian military. You have a situation where Ukrainians were threatening to shoot Africans. They told a Nigerian woman in Ukraine that she had to walk instead of taking a train. You had the video where the Ukrainians were being racist and yet told a Congolese man, to go fight for the Ukrainians. They told him he should go fight Ukraine. Flames 2.0. It's not about, for us, economic power leads to political power as well. Both are interconnected.
I'm
So
gonna ask him to explain that because that doesn't make
yeah,
sense to me.
that's the point I'll say. Because we can work with the government. Did you see what Roland did? Roland was able to talk to the president. Roland was able to talk to Alexander Cummings. We can get political clout in Liberia easily. If you have the economic power, you can easily get political clout. That's no problem.
Also, I think that we need to make this clear so that I don't think people are really understanding what the BAIO is all about.
We're not
The
there to
BA,
own.
yeah, the
Go ahead.
BAIO is a means to an end. The reason why the
Yeah.
BAIO exists is so that we can get people up to date and accepting of the concept of land infrastructure nationhood in their own nation state in Liberia. The BAIO is not like some motorcycle gang or it's like what it's a you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm
It's
about
not
to
like
say we're
we're
not
not
there.
gonna
We're not
have
gonna.
we're
We're not
not
gonna be.
taking over.
Yeah, we're not running elections and stuff. What we're doing is we're encouraging the Liberian government to make African American citizens so you can just easily assimilate into the society.
Yeah,
And
because
matter of fact, let's talk about this to show you why you need a nation state. Hold on. I need you to show I need to show this.
but while you're doing that, I just want to make this one point. Anybody that's in the BAIO who goes to Liberia to become a Liberian citizen it's like they're Liberian. They're not BAIO. I mean, they may be in the BAIO, but
Yes.
they're Liberian. So how can
But
they not have political power if they're a Liberian citizen?
I disagree, but but I'm gonna say that this is from this post. Look at what it says. Tens of thousands of Ukrainian Jews to apply to make Aliyah.
What is that?
Aliyah means to return to Israel. That's what that means.
Oh,
When they say Aliyah, basically repatriating and returning to the state of Israel.
right. Can you put that link in the thing?
Yes. I don't agree with like practically hardly anything they say, but the point of that matter is is that's what happens when you have a home base. Okay. Like I said, I'm not
Thank you.
I'm not a huge fan of them, but the point of it is the fact that you have a homeland to go to.
Right.
So they can make that a liar. If something were to pop off in the US, where you gonna go?
Right. And I want to re-emphasize that the BAIO is the means to an end.
End.
It's not. It's you're not going to Liberia so you can be a BAIO. You're going to Liberia so you can be a Liberian. You know what I'm saying?
Like we are
That's
Liberians. That's the
right.
point.
Exactly. So it's like I don't understand. We say we can have political power, but not we can have economic power, but not political power. I don't understand how that would apply if we're citizens.
That's the point that I said, and that's the point that we were saying. The Liberian government is willing to meet with, like, people are willing to meet with us. Like we
Mhm.
saw with Roland, they were willing to meet with Roland Martin. Imagine if we get into the room and we speak. They were asking them how they could further promote the bicentennial. Imagine when we get there, knowing the historical knowledge and depth about Liberia that we know,
Mhm.
we can make inroads and get policies that can advance our cause and get a citizenship and nation. We can easily do that. We have the connections.
Mhm.
All we have to
And
do
we
is just
have
get the move.
we
But
have the history behind us because we know. See, the thing is, everybody just assumes. Like, if you notice this, Jabari, and you probably experienced this because your TikTok is blowing up. There's a
same
lot
thing
of
with
people.
yours.
There's a lot of people that just assume that we're interacting with Liberia as conquerors or colonizers. I don't.
Like I said, it's propaganda. It's the reason why I had to share my article. You're right, Flames 2.0. They'll make us a tribe, but the thing about it is we'll be a tribe within. Matter of fact, Flames, I don't think you noticed, but American Liberians are considered a tribe. They're considered a people of Liberia now. So it's not we're going to be seen as enemies.
Can I throw something into the discourse?
Yeah.
Rwanda. Didn't they have Hutus and Tutsi?
Yeah.
What happened?
I mean, they're still there, but nobody makes a big deal about it. All the
Nobody even
people,
calls themselves that anymore. What are they now? They're,
Rwandans.
they're Rwandans. So I don't see. I compared it. It's the same thing. Like, all right, in America, don't you have different ethnic groups in America?
Yeah. Oh,
Aren't they all
example,
American?
example. Latino Americans, Asian Americans. Within those groups, you have nationalities. You have
Right,
Taiwanese, you have Chinese. The point of the matter is there's not going to be a monolith. Even when we
right.
go there in Liberia, you have the different indigenous people, ethnic groups. Yes,
Hmm.
African Americans will be their own ethnic group, but we're all Liberian and we'll all assimilate to form a creolized culture. That's the
Bingo,
point. It's not going to
bingo.
be like if African Americans show up there, it's going to be y'all African Americans, we all going to live in one part of the country. No, we're going to be moving around the thing. And yes, you'll have some Liberians who are want to marry within their ethnic group, but we've talked to a lot of Liberians who are mixed ethnically, who are African American, American Liberian, or Congo, Angola. You have situations where you, like, for example, I had a friend who's Liberian, who's mixed ethnicity. They have two or more indigenous ethnic groups of Liberia in them. So what do you
Let's
say with them? As a
let's.
matter of fact, to show Hollop that we are not the only people, because people, African Americans, have this mindset that think that we are the only people that don't know where we come from. I remember in TikTok there was a massive disagreement. It was about talking about Sierra Leone, and one of the people underneath said, there were Africans who were supposed to have been taken as slaves to the Americas, but the slave ships were captured and they were sent to Liberia, and they came from like the Congo Ghana region, but they were stationed in Liberia. Those Africans who were supposed to be sold to the Americas but never were and were shipped, who were brought back to Liberia, they don't know where they come from.
Hmm.
They don't know where they come from. Haitians don't know where they come from. Jamaicans don't know. But the difference is, and one of my friends, we were talking about this last week, was the reason why you see them as they do know where they're from is because they have their own nation. So for you, you see Haitians as well. Yeah, they may not know exactly in Africa where they're from, but they have Haiti. They have their own country.
But think about it. Why? Let's keep it close to home, and let's not pretend that the situation that we're living in America is so Like, we need to draw from what our experience is here. I live in New York City. Do you know how many ethnic groups there are in New York City?
Oh, ridiculous. New York got everything.
So why do I have to assimilate into? Do I have to assimilate into one of those ethnic groups in order to live in New York City? That doesn't make any sense. We're all New Yorkers. And then when you go outside of New York, you have other states. Guess what? They're all American. You have wildly different ethnic groups, different ideologies, different religions, all of this different stuff in America, yet America remains one of the most stable countries in the world. So what people see as a problem, I don't see as a problem because I'm living it right now. You're living in a society. You got people who are straight living with next to people who are gay, people who, it doesn't matter. That's not destabilizing the society because you have different ethnic groups. That's my point. You live in America. If you can understand that concept in America, why does it become so different when you go to the continent in our nation?
Exactly. I mean, that's just really the reality of it. And they want us back. That's why they did the bicentennial. They wouldn't be doing the bicentennial if they didn't want us back. That's just the reality.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the thing is, even though we know that we're not considered true Americans and we're treated as second and third class citizens, at the end of the day, look at the situation that's going on with the Ukraine and Russia. Look at what happened when 9/11 happened. The country rallies around the country. The people in the country will rally around the country. Now, you may have some people who want to protest against the war. I mean, that happens. That's been happening historically. But for the most part, Americans will rally around the American interest.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, they're Americans.
White Americans, let's be clear. But but that's what happens when you don't have your own country.
Right.
That's why you see what they're doing. They're calling Black people agents. That's what happens when you don't have your own government.
Right. And that's the difference in how we're approaching Liberia compared to what people have in their mind. We're not going over there as conquerors. We're not going over there to tell people, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing. Listen to us." No.
They're already a country. So we don't need to worry. It's already there.
Right. Exactly. What you're doing is basically, as Liberians, and that is not just people from coming from America over to Liberia. That's the people that's already there. They're Liberians.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're working in the interest of Liberians, meaning everybody in the country, then what's the conflict? Where's the colonization?
And matter of fact, to put it back, I saw a video in Kentucky, right, about the connection between Kentucky and Liberia. And they were talking about the African American president, William Coleman. He was a president of Liberia, right? Some of his relatives live in the United States. He went to go to the Liberian embassy to connect with his Liberian heritage, the other side, the part of the family that went to Liberia.
Right.
Did those Liberians go up to him and say, "You're African American"? So therefore, no, they said, "Yo, that we family. We on the other side. We may be on the other side of the thing, but we fam."
Right.
We the descendants of the same man.
And that's the general consensus. My experience interacting with continental Africans lets me know that all of this so-called friction is a bunch of bullshit. And the main people that you see pushing that shit is African immigrants who come to America and ain't even associated with their country anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that vibe is coming from. The African American don't like Africans and all this other bullshit.
And also the point that we said, if you feel as an African American, that other African countries may not accept us, why not go to Liberia? Like we always say that they're having a bicentennial that's specifically geared for when your ancestors arrived there. Why don't you focus on them? It makes no sense. You would have more sway in Liberia than any other country. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, even if Liberians were to say, you know what, there were problems with what happened in the past, this country was still founded by you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, we'd be speaking French or we would be a British colony. And there are Liberians who said that.
And Jabari, this is the main point. This is the one that really confuses me. Since ADOS and FBA are so amped up on reparations, isn't it a no-brainer that they associate themselves with Liberia?
That's the rational response.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. You got a nation state you can appeal for reparations for.
And as a matter of fact, that gives you leverage because here's what you can do. We can go, let's say we Liberia is a nation. We can go to every African country and say, will you vote for us in condemning the United States for this or do this? You have leverage at that point. You don't have that in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Umoja just came back from Tanzania. Every experience, well, I talk to continental Africans all the time, and this whole thing about they don't like African Americans is a bunch of BS. And the people that usually push that, like I said, are African immigrants who came over from their country to America, and they the ones that's pushing that separation, which is so ironic considering the fact. And this is one thing I do agree with the ADOS and FBA on is why you think you're able to do that? How do you think that you're able to even come over here and be a citizen or engage in anything American? We had nothing to do with that?
Flames, I think Flames is forgetting what is not. I think you're misinterpreting what we're saying. What we're saying, Flames, because
what is he saying? Hold on.
No, because he thinks like, oh, if we're not establishing for an ethnic group, why don't we just assimilate in America? And I said, no, you're missing the point. Liberia was already established by African Americans. Okay, it's a country that's founded by African Americans, right? But we also have ethnic group indigenous people already there. When we move to Liberia, there are going to be African Americans who assimilate or marry into Liberian society. Also, these indigenous Liberians will marry us as well. So what does that mean? It means we're going to become creolized. We're going to come into one unique African American ethnic group that's going to comprise indigenous Liberians, continental Afro-Caribbeans, and Afro-Americans. We're still nationalists. We still have a nation state for African Americans, but at the same time, we're going to have a blend of African culture. It's not just going to be just strictly 100% African American. It's going to be African American along with African and Caribbean culture.
And that's a beautiful thing to me.
Yeah, I'm about to say
that's a beautiful thing. Like, why is that?
Yeah, I'm about to say it's already our country. Like, we talked to Liberians, like they said, you know, like one person said, if they don't think, we'll make you one. Like, we can easily get that going for us.
Flames, are you trolling me right now?
Yeah, I'm about to say, Flames.
Are you trolling? Are you intentionally being dense? I really got to know. He's got to be trolling.
Yeah,
he's got to be trolling.
Flames. No, I'm about to say, because usually he used to be so good, but now
is this like, has your account been hacked or something?
Yeah, I'm about to say, because I've never heard him say this before. I've never heard that.
Like, the whole premise of this guy's argument is off. Ethnocide. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm about to say
ethnocide. I'll let you handle that. I'll let you handle that.
Yeah, I'll handle it. He says I'm an ethno-nationalist, not a pan-African nationalist. Okay, so you said you are an ethno-nationalist. You realize it's gonna create conflict, right? Like, you do realize, like, ain't no way they gonna let you form a separate nation in Liberia. Like, what?
If he thinks that, then it's no wonder why he's saying that we can do it right here, because that's the same mentality that the ADOS and them have here. It's like they think that they're going to form some nation within a nation within the United States. That's not what we're doing in Liberia.
And my thing is, there's no way you can find a pure African American. Like I said, Liberia is going to be predominantly African American culture. It is right now. It has a lot of African American culture with it, but you have indigenous Liberian culture as well. But if your whole argument is being an ethno nationalist, how are you going to do that in Liberia without basically doing what Israel's doing, ethnically cleansing the indigenous population? The only way to really be an ethno nationalist is to literally ethnically cleanse a population off.
But
And
why is my question? Why would you want to do that?
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't make any sense. That's going to create way more conflict, and it's going to make people even more against the African American community. And that's what we don't need. So that's why your argument is fundamentally flawed.
Like the idea of a cosmopolitan African nation is very exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why people are like, why do you feel? And like I said, look at America. Look at America. You have all of these different ethnic groups in America, yet they can still exist in the same cities, same states.
And Flames. Here's the thing: when these African Americans come to Liberia, indigenous Liberians are going to assimilate with us. So they're going to take from us. We're going to take from them.
Right.
So how is it destroying our culture or our group when that new group is literally made up of your group? That doesn't make any sense. That new creolized culture is going to have African American culture in it. It's not like it's going to be completely erased. And also, you can't advocate a new culture here in America because you don't control the aspects of culture. You don't control the society, the politics. You don't control the media. You don't control the entertainment. You don't control none of that. You don't control the language, what is taught in school.
Wow.
You don't control any of that.
Jabari, you know what I'm getting the sense, and I apologize to Flames. What I'm getting the sense of, Jabari, is that we are thinking that people understand what we're saying. And I think it's a lot of we need to have like some type of course or something so that people can get the basics, because
that's why
the argument is, like you said, the argument is so fundamental. There's so much wrong with that premise that could be solved by just information.
And agree. And that's why for me, that's why I said we got to spend time educating people on what we stand for, but also like what is Liberia, how Liberia came to be, the good about Liberia, how we can improve. That's why you have to do that, because when people think of an African American nation, what they're thinking is it's going to be exclusively African American and nobody else is going to be coming in. No, if let's say we were to have an African American nation state, immigrants are going to come into your country. You're going to have immigrants from other countries come in and contribute to your culture. The point is, those immigrants are trying to assimilate into your culture. You're going to adopt from them. They're going to adopt from us. They're going to become part of us. Because if African Americans move to Liberia en masse, African Americans will be the overwhelming majority of the population. Let's say we only get 10% of the entire African American population. That's 5 million Black people. Liberia's population, if you exclude the Americas, Liberia's indigenous population is about 4 million. So even if 10% of us go, we will be the majority. But that indigenous population want to be assimilated with us too. They want to know, hey, these African Americans are coming here and they're becoming part of our society. Because
see, this is the thing,
what Flames doesn't understand, you're literally going into the Liberia propaganda that Western media says. This is why Liberia failed, because African Americans refused to share the indigenous people. That is a thing that they say over and over and over again. And when you say you're an ethno-nationalist, and then you talk about Liberia, now it goes down the drain.
Barry, let me ask you a question. If an African immigrant comes over to America, isn't their goal to be an American?
Yes.
Like, are they coming over to be an ethno-nationalist?
Right. They're coming to become a part of that culture, a part of that society.
I mean, maybe it's just me, but this seems pretty, self-explanatory to me. You coming over to the country, you're coming over to
We want to go to our
assimilate.
country. We want to come back to our country. We want to be Liberian. We want to be part of Liberian culture, which is heavily based on our culture, but also indigenous Liberian culture.
Right. I don't see the conflict.
Hey,
Exactly. I don't see it either. Go ahead,
Yo, what's up,
Emoji.
Umoja?
hey, good morning and afternoon, depending on where y'all at. And I was thinking about some what y'all was mentioning previously, but pertaining to what y'all currently talking about, like y'all talking to whoever was trolling. What's the name? Flames.
Yeah.
And Flames and like people like Flame. Honestly, at this point, don't even matter. I'm so glad that man, it makes my heart bubble that the Liberia trip is happening. And see, literally, I know Liberians here where I'm at, and I talk to them, and they in agreement with us. So like the Flames and the ADOS and the FBAs, like legit don't even matter. Particularly being that like it's actually about to be like people in Liberia talking to Liberians. Those are the people we should only be concerned about, even remotely convincing. And given the arguments, I'm sure that they'll be like, damn, first they're gonna be in love with us because Jabari is gonna give them the history lesson that most of them don't even know, and we have evidence of that. So they're gonna know that we serious and we actually love the people, and we there for the people. Like arguing with Americans who want to be American and love America so much because all of the lovely gifts and luxurious that they give Black people when they're not killing us. That's cool. You for real. That's dope. Like y'all good. There's no reason in talking to them. I don't know if it's give us fuel to like keep us going or something, right? Like, yeah, we you know, but seriously, because the one thing that I can't say about the BIO is that while we talk and we say we do, things are getting done.
Right.
Things are getting done, and that's what's important. That's what's important. But I'm going back a little bit. Sorry, y'all. And this is what I really wanted to say. A lot of people is talking about tribalism and like subcultures of Africans and African Americans, and it makes me think like, all right, all of this is true, and like things that we've talked about. I'm talking about years ago. Is like, all right, but if something is not working, then it's foolish to continue to behave or conduct yourself in a manner that's continuing to be a disservice to yourself as an individual and to your people as a whole, right? And it made me think of something like gangbanging. This is a real subculture in Black America, right? And it could be considered tribalism. So it's like if we was to say, you know what, gang members, this is like actually harmful for our culture, and these are the numbers of how we're actually like making our position in America worse. Let's stop this completely. And it'll be like some people start saying, well, man, this part of our culture though, like I gotta kill this nigga's cousin in like a week. You know what I'm saying? No, we can't stop this. This is part of our culture. Think of how insane that would sound. Or if we were to say, hey, gang members, we sitting up here killing each other for these blocks and everything else. How about we start selling dope over in the white neighborhood because they like this stuff too, and we start building our communities and really organize our crime. And people start saying, no, man, this is my block right here on 12th and Honeydew. And I got somebody, and if you come over here and I'm gonna shoot you, right? Like it's like it's time for us to actually do what we know we need to do. It's just time for us to do what we know we need to do and stop playing and stop debating over little things like, well, no, because then I'm not gonna be light skinned anymore. They're just gonna call me colored, or I'm not gonna be nah, man, dog. That literally doesn't matter as much as we try to make it seem. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. What matters is what is your kids going to be talking about in 50 years? What's going to be going on then? What's going to be going on in the year 2100? Where are we going to be at, man?
That's and Umoja, we got historical examples, recent examples that we can pull from in Rwanda. They were Hutus and Tutsis until Kagame said, fuck all of that. You're Rwandans.
Big brother. I wish I could remember the dude's name, man. The native Indian's name, man. this dude, I watched this 17-minute video of this dude giving a speech to Congress in like 87, talking about how many of his people are actually left, how many of them people have died, and how they kept on letting the white people come in, and they kept on changing the laws and federal regulations to keep them from selling their crops and keep them and even now when they got the casinos, how it's actually bad. But dude, this dude literally, it like rocked me, because I didn't even know all this stuff. And this is what's happening to the Native Americans in America. They're almost extinct, bruh. And this is what black people saying that we are. This is what black people saying we want to be. We want to be these people.
I don't. It's not even.
It's crazy.
It's not even the fact that it's not. They're not.
It's
They're
crazy.
not. They're not necessarily. I wouldn't use the word extinct. But my point. I would say this. You're talking about a group of people that basically lost their whole country, have been basically removed to reservations. There's still. I mean, there's still over 1 million of them. I mean, they're not small. Like, but they live in practically some of the most impoverished communities in America. Like Native Americans, along with African Americans, are the poorest groups of people in America. The only other people that get shot by police at a higher rate than African Americans is American Indians, is Native Americans. The only other group of people in the same situation as us is Native Americans.
And nobody cares. And nobody cares.
And nobody, and it's hard.
Nobody gives a damn.
Yeah, I mean, how many times did we see the Dakota Access Pipeline? Them try to literally put a gas pipeline through their reservation. And when they protested, they were met with dogs. They were met with tear gas and rubber bullets. That's what we're talking about. When we're talking about just how they're being treated and how they lost their country. Okay, or even we don't even have to look at even just Americans. Look at what happened in Australia and New Zealand, the Black Wars. I mean, the Tasmanians, literally the last full-blooded Tasmanian died a century ago. There are no more full-blooded Tasmanians because of British colonialism. So I need us to really think about what we are talking about and what we mean by identifying.
Yeah. See, people worried about what they're identifying as when they can really soon be identified as gone or identified as nothing. And we so worried about that right now. Like, and I know you laughing, big bro, because it's real. It's very real, man. And I was just talking about it. I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago or what, but I was saying, man, if a world war was to happen for real, and certain countries said, okay, Guinea, this is mine. Okay, Nigeria, we want this part. Like, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do anything. A lot of Africa wouldn't be able to do anything.
Exactly. That's
and
true.
This is the reality. And we sit up here playing. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, it is the truth. And like one person said, you know, with Rwanda, I mean, not with Rwanda, but in the case of African power, he made up a good tweet. He says, Africa doesn't need intellectuals. Africa needs scientists, engineers, and industrialists. Same thing we've been saying. Anybody can be an intellectual, but I need people who know how to build bridges. I need people who know how to build electrical grids. I need people that are materials engineers. I need nuclear physicists. I need nuclear engineers. I need people who are actually going to be productive members of society. Like, yes, it's great that I know so much knowledge about our history, right? But at the end of the day, unless I'm going to be a history teacher in Liberia, there's no way I can apply that knowledge outside of that.
Right.
You can't apply the knowledge of unless you're Dr. John Henry Clark and all these other people, some of them I disagree. You can't apply that unless you have a school or you're a teacher. And the only way to be a teacher is you have to have a school. But you have to be able to dictate the curriculum, which means you need the state, which means you need your own government. It all leads back to nationhood, and it all leads back to having that infrastructure so you can thrive. You can't thrive in an environment that's hostile and you don't have the infrastructure to support. And
all roads lead to nationhood.
Exactly. And you got Black people concerned, like freaking out about the fact that Black wealth is going to hit zero by 2053. So if we know Black wealth is going to hit zero by 2053, why don't we get up out of here while we still can, while we still got some money?
Can I?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, you really think you're gonna leave once 2053 hits? Come on.
Yeah, I just want to address the comment that Baruti put up, and I want everybody to listen closely to how I address it. He says Rwanda is an interesting case. Only 3 ethnic groups, Tutsi, Hutu, and Twa, which to encourage national identity without tribe, as opposed to 100 ethnicities to facilitate the same task. And he's talking about in Liberia. Here's my response to that. How many ethnicities are in America?
Tons.
Do people in America have a national identity? See, this is what I'm saying. It's like we're making this into something that is like,
It's not hard.
like we are already living what you're talking
And
about.
the thing about it is, people got to separate. And in Baruti, I think it's important. You got to separate race, ethnicity, and nationality. Ethnically, you are whatever, but
Again,
nationally, you are that.
see, excuse me, Bari. Like we want to make this stuff seem impossible when it comes to us doing it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
even something as simple as Big Bro saying, like, dude, we're living it now. Like, open your eyes. Like I literally had my ex-landlord, a white lady, bring me a Vietnamese bomb ass like baguette sandwich, beef sandwich, just the other day at my
Yeah, why is this a
Yo,
problem when it comes
we
to
live
us,
amongst
but we're
every
living it
Like,
right
yeah.
here in
right
America?
now.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Listen to me right now, y'all. Right now, I'm driving up a big ass hill to a big ass fucking estate. Excuse me, y'all, to go train an Ethiopian couple. To go train an Ethiopian married couple and their 2 kids who love me. Right now, literally wearing my BAIO sweater. Talk to me about something, y'all. Talk to me about something. Like seriously,
Thank
man.
you.
We go all
We make it complicated. We act like it's gonna pop off. Like if we go to Liberia,
esoteric and just super interesting.
like we act like if we go there, they're gonna be Liberians that just gonna run at us and they're gonna be against us. When that ain't the case. We pull up in Liberia and people like, as long as you giving us jobs and we know that you founded this country, so the more of y'all come here and the more y'all jobs y'all bring, the better it is for us.
Yo,
Yeah, we
let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Let's take it to its natural progression. If I'm from Brooklyn, I can't possibly hang out with somebody from Queens, right?
You live in the same country, you live in the same city.
It's like, why are we making this so fucking super complicated? I don't give a shit if there's 1,000 ethnicities. Yes, you can rally around a national identity.
Yeah, because the thing about it is this: nationality is different than ethnicity. Case
Right.
in point, South Africa. South Africa is what? South Africa has 11 different languages. I've been to South Africa. When people ask them what's their nationality, I'm South
South
African.
African.
Ask them what their ethnicity is. Okay, I'm Sesotho. I'm Swana. I'm Zulu. I'm Xhosa. They make it very clear at that point. But nationality, everybody knows they're South African. Nobody doesn't know they're not South African in South Africa. Everybody knows. They may be of different ethnicities, but everybody knows they're South African at the end of the day. Okay. But yeah, we just gotta stop. We gotta stop being so idealistic. That's what I think the biggest problem is a lot of our people think too idealistic. They think like I said with Flames, that if we have a nation state, it's gonna be exclusively African American with no immigrants, or these immigrants are gonna come and they're just gonna completely give up everything. That's unrealistic. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. And also, this is something I had a conversation with Akira about this. We need to have immigrants and what do they call it? Immigrants. What's the classification? Is immigrants, refugees,
Yeah.
and what else?
Asylum seekers.
Yeah, asylum seek. We need to have that baked into the cake. That's a reality. It's sort of similar to like companies have theft, like internal theft in their corporation baked into the cake. Like they just assume that some of their products is going to be taken by employees. They don't have a system where, well, we've totally eliminated internal theft. They just accept it as a reality.
Exactly.
And people need to accept it as a reality that there's going to be people coming into your country or trying to get into your country. So
Exactly.
rather than being reactive and trying to stop it from happening, maybe you need to incorporate that into the mix and find out what's the proper way to do it.
That's an engineering mindset. What you're thinking is even how we as engineers think.
Right.
When we do engineer, we assume this factor of safety for this region. Or if we're going to design a building for this many people, we're going to assume these many people are going to do parking. We're going to assume these many people are in a case for driving, right? You have 1.3 people driving
Hmm.
per vehicle. What that means is we assume that there are people that are carpooling. So we're not going to design when we design a parking lot, we're not going to design a parking lot for one for each person because we're baking it into the cake that we know that there's going to be people who are carpooling. That
Hmm.
and what you're saying is the same thing. We need to make the assumption that if something goes down in another country, there's going to be refugees and
Right.
people who are going to seek asylum. Therefore, you need to be able to process that from happening. Because let's say, for example, in Burkina Faso or Guinea, let's say Burkina Faso jihadis come out of where, or let's say Ivory Coast, something happens, right? And people start fleeing and they know that Liberia is developed. They're going to start fleeing into our country. You
Hmm.
have to be ready for that. You
Right.
have to make that assumption.
And rather than saying no people can come into your country, how about allotting a certain area or location for people to come into your country and have a limit? Because that way, let's say if the international community says, well, how come Liberia isn't letting people into we said, no, we let these people in. This is all we can take. Y'all need to step up to the plate and help.
Exactly.
We have the moral stance to do that. But see, this is the problem. We don't have, like you said, Jabari, the wrong people are holding the microphone.
And
We're
it's
not
like,
even
and it's
having these
like,
conversations.
and the thing about it is that's why people say you always think 2 to 3 steps ahead. When you make a move, whenever I think about making a move, I'm not just thinking about myself in the immediate term. I'm thinking, okay, if this happens, this is what we need to do. I'm making the assumption, like, for example, let's say, for example, we do a vast majority of African Americans move to the continent, move to Liberia, move throughout the continent, and we become a political force. You already need to make an assumption with Washington. You need to make an assumption that this is what Washington is going to do or try to do. So
Hmm.
therefore, you need to be prepared, right? It's like with sanctions. Let's say hypothetically they don't like our movement, so they try to sanction us. You need to have it ready in the Black American population. This is what's going to happen. Y'all need to be ready for this. Like they said in any conflict or any battle, battle is logistics. Logistics is what wins. You have to be ready. You have to have it already anticipated.
Right. And this is
And
why
it's
I am totally for smart people being in charge. My only problem right now is that we don't have smart people in charge. We got A Town, Welvin the Great, and 50 Tyson.
well, and uh, a frustrating part for me is like it made me think about. I think it was yesterday. Bari, we was talking about being pragmatic and thinking pragmatically about things, and the truth of the matter is that when it comes to what's going on around us geopolitically, like Black folks by and large are at the behest of other people.
Exactly. That's just the
Nothing,
reality.
just like right now as we see what's going on, talk to a lot of Black people and they'll just be like, that ain't got nothing to do with me, I don't really care, I don't rah, 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 rah. But then the same Black people will act like this is legit their country and like they do have a say. And
Right.
then it makes me think about being pragmatic is actually going to invest in an African country, mainly Liberia, where you can have a voice, where you can and how you made me think about it, big bro, when you was like, we will have the moral standing, we will have the moral ground. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what that would be. Where, like, imagine y'all, a lot of us was at least at some point into the political sphere deep, from wanting to vote and everything else and just be involved and be knowledgeable and up to date. And then you realize, like, bro, all of these people is full of shit, first of all, and second of all, my voice really is not being heard. Like, Like, and we know this about this place. Yet when we talk about going to invest in somewhere else, it's like we are super patriotic to this place still,
Mhm.
even still.
And
And that's the word that I could use. We could just cut it to at its core. We are patriotic to America.
and
Good
and,
night.
and emotion, I'll add even further. This is why we can't progress, because they were talking about why black voters voted for Joe Biden instead of Bernie Sanders, despite the fact that they preferred Bernie Sanders over Joe Biden. And one of the things that black voters said was because they wanted to be pragmatic, because they were concerned about what white voters thought, and was this going to be appealing to white voters. That
You're
right there is the problem right there. When you're
you're
stuck
answering
in a,
Barudi's question. Go ahead, cook.
yeah, why don't we have smart people? Because you have to be in that situation, because of the fact that we live in America and we're not the majority. We therefore have to stomach candidates we don't want to stomach. That's just the reality. We have to stomach candidates that we don't want to have. Same thing. Majority of black folks were willing to support Bernie Sanders, but if white people we're not going to vote for Bernie Sanders, it would have deflated the black community, because we voted for Bernie Sanders, and let's say, and Bernie didn't win the nomination. Let's say Joe Biden still won it. Then in that situation, we would be demoralized, because wow, we all as black people put our chips into Bernie Sanders and we still didn't get the candidate that we want.
Right.
And so at that moment, you're now morally deflated. So now you're in a situation where you have to literally stomach knowing Joe Biden's past, knowing Joe Biden is really not going to change anything, but he's better than the erratic and unstable Donald Trump. You vote for Joe Biden just for the fact that you just want to not see him win. And that's the problem with our mindset, and the unfortunate of living in this country is you can be, because we all know about this emotion in Hollip. What is it called? The mask, the corporate mask, or code switching.
Mhm.
When we
There you go. Yep.
when we got to go into workplaces that are hostile to us, we got to code switch. We have to put on this fake mask, not be who we really are, because we're in a toxic environment. And instead of us saying, or at least there being a voice out there alternatively saying, no, in the black community, don't you want to live in an environment where you don't have to um straighten your hair? You don't have to cut your hair. You can grow out your hair. You don't
See,
have to.
and
That
here's where I just want to input this really quick. Here's where it gets interesting, because rather than that, Bari, rather than saying I want to be somewhere where my hair isn't looked at as a weakness in let's say the corporate sense, rather than that, we wait until somebody passed a bill in some random ass county saying that yeah, they passed a bill where workers can no longer be fired for having dreadlocks, and we clap like, look, we making progress. We've
Yo,
been we've been conditioned to think that struggling and working to fight the man and fight against the system and fight for reparations is what we're supposed to do, rather than going to get your own. That's
yo,
where we're at.
can
That's
I
where
can
we're
I
at.
can I build on that? Well,
Please.
actually, there's two things I want to build on. I want to build on what you just said. Do you know who changed the culture of corporate America when it came to dress code? And I know this guy. A lot of people don't like this guy, but it's factual. Bill Gates. When the tech industry came, it wasn't suits and ties. He said, just come in with your jeans, t-shirt. It doesn't matter. One man changed the entire. Now, when you see corporate meetings, you don't see anybody really suited up like that anymore. The
That's
CEO
interesting.
is walking in with fucking jeans and sneakers with a suit jacket on. One guy did that. So I just put that out there. But I want to address what Baruti asked. He says, why don't we have smart people in charge? What prevents this? Can you delve into it? Look at what I have on the screen. It's a book called The Art of Systems Thinking. I think everybody should get that. And basically, just to make it short, it's not in the system's interest for there to be smart people. And especially it's not in the system's interest to work for us, because we don't control the system.
Exactly.
And the whole purpose of this, the art of systems thinking, if you read that book, it just tells you the purpose of a system is to maintain itself.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
That's it.
It's
It's
supposed to
supposed to
function a way.
maintain itself and be self-perpetuating. Now, let me explain, because a lot of times you say that and it just washes over people and they don't understand what you mean. If you develop a police system, the purpose of the system is not to stop crime. The purpose of the system is to maintain a police system. So you see what I'm saying? It's not about solving anything. It's about maintaining the system that you create. So if you create a medical system, it's not to keep people from being sick. It's to maintain a medical system.
Exactly.
So the reason why we don't have smart people is because the system is not conducive. It's not, you don't have the fertile soil for smart people. That's why, like, the whole concept of the book I've been working on all my life called The Nigger Manufacturing Machine is that everybody keeps complaining about Black culture as if something is wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with Black culture in America. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
There you go.
It
That's
There it
produces
is there.
Negroes exponentially like gremlins. It's
Let me
supposed to.
let me say something. Let me say
Let me
something
just
to that.
let me just
Go
finish
ahead,
this and you can go ahead.
please.
We, the people of the BAIO, or the people that want nationhood, or people trying to get our own, we're the anomaly.
Hmm?
That's what we are. We're the anomaly that has to, it's like when you throw a virus into a population, some people are going to be immune to it so that the population can continue to exist. That's what we are in the BAIO. We're the people that's immune to
Here
the
I come,
virus.
Ruth.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just say this, Bar. Sorry, Bar. I know you waiting,
No, go
but
ahead. I'm finished.
I gotta go now. So this hit me. This was a while ago. I think it was like right when I met y'all at the BIO. I was at a literally a Liberian wedding party here, and I had on my and I had on like just think regular clothes, but at the time I was always rocking a gang of like necklaces, and I had my big old, it's actually hanging in my car now, my coconut African chain. And I was looking around, and all these Africans, like a couple of them had on like, maybe a gold necklace with a little gold African on it or something. But I was looking, I was like, these people know they African. They don't have to put it on. Then I started thinking, I was like, yeah, you don't see any white boys walking around with jewelry that have an American flag on it, or you know what I'm saying? Like, because they know what they are. And it's like and it and I realized that I've been taught that it was so bad that I wanted to make it be such a good thing outwardly, and that, and I didn't see it as a bad thing, but I saw it as like, bro, that's still an oppressive state. And it hit me that me even being a quote unquote revolutionary or rebellious or anything like that is also built into this system. Like what you was just saying, like I was created by this by this system.
Mhm.
And meaning that this system is ready for my little black ass. They're
Right.
ready for you to think you about to take over. They're ready for you to think you Malcolm X. Stupid. I wish you would. We're prepared for you.
Isn't that
And
what
this
the
is
whole
the point.
purpose of the Matrix was? If you
Exactly.
saw the movie,
Exactly. But what they not
Neo
prepared
was a
for.
response to that. Like they said, there's always going to be a
Mhm.
small segment of people who's going to go against the programming. So we have to incorporate that into the
Crazy.
Matrix.
And
Man,
that's one
I'm
of the
sad I
things.
gotta go, man. I know y'all about to. I know y'all about to keep going in. I love y'all, and I'll listen to the rest later. I gotta go though.
All right,
Peace,
man.
y'all.
Um,
Peace.
but yeah, what is it? That's what that's one of the mindsets that I approach. I always approach from the fact that, listen, I'm in the minority. Most African Americans don't know extensively about Liberian history, unless of what they heard. So therefore, since I know the majority is not there, I already make the assumption that I'm gonna have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. That's just what you have to do. You have to understand where we are at. Like
Hmm.
you said, it's the minority that's going to lead the movement. Think about the UNIA. The UNIA started with Marcus Garvey. It started with him, Amy, Ashwood Garvey, and a few other people in order for the UNIA to bloom.
Hmm.
Okay. So you're not going to get the majority. The majority are not going to just change. It takes the people who are the leaders. That's one of the things I understand. People don't want to say. People say, "Well, I don't want the leadership position." No, you need leadership. You need leaders. Now, you
Hmm.
don't want centralized leadership.
Right.
You don't want a cult of personality, but you need leaders. You need people.
Absolutely.
You need people. Yes, these are the heads of the movement,
Right.
because the reality of it is you need people that can direct it. Because if it's like Black Lives Matter, that's decentralized, you had a strong movement or a strong support for a movement, and as a result, you have a situation where Black Lives Matter has been doing shady deals, working with corporations.
Hmm.
The movement has faded. They were taking the bag because you don't have a centralized movement. You have these decentralized groups doing their own thing instead of saying we have a centralized movement, we have centralized leadership, we have a centralized agenda, and everybody works around that. Because controversy to what we may want to think, majority of people or significant amount of people need to be told what to do. Even when it comes to me, right? If you wanted me to advocate for you, the very first thing I'm going to ask you to do is ask me, what do you want me to do? Because I don't have much of a vested interest in what you're doing. You're passionate about what you're doing. So therefore, you tell me what you want me to do.
Hmm.
Tell me to share the link. Tell me to share it with my friends and I can do that. Tell me, open up a book club.
About that.
Tell
My VPN's kind of acting up right now.
Okay. Tell me
But
you
y'all
want
can
me to
hear
do
me
this.
now, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay. I just want to add something to what you said, earlier.
Oh, damn.
And like his
In order for you to gain something that you want, you need not only do you have to fight for it, you have to organize in order to fight for it. Right? You know what I'm saying? Um, and, here's the thing that I've but here's one thing I've always noticed, like as Black people in America, we always have a lot of certain demands, we we want equality, we want.
Uh-oh. He's got a bad connection. Yeah, his connection is really choppy.
Yeah, it really is. But that's the point that I'm saying. You can't just tell people they need to just do it by themselves. No, they have to have leadership. Every successful movement has leadership. We can even do the sports analogy. When you're on a team, there's a team leader. Everybody knows who's the team leader is.
Hmm.
Everybody knows this is the person who we give the ball to at the end of games. Everybody knows this. Nobody is surprised by it. There's no leaderless team. Every team has a leader. That team leader is the coach on the floor because the coach can't play.
Hmm.
That team leader is the coach.
Yep.
People.
Yeah, Chima's connection is bad. He's like going in and out.
Yeah.
Um, if the condition of our people is a problem, why do the people who constantly focus on this problem not focus on the development of real world solutions to the problem? Because they're not interested in solutions. They're interested in clickbait and views and show topics.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I call the intellectualization of nationhood. It's like we're having a conversation in a cafe with our legs crossed, sipping latte, intellectualizing about the condition of Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the motivation behind the interaction. It's pure intellectualism. It's nothing about solution oriented stuff. Because we at the BAIO are frustrated with talking. We're actually tired of talking. We want to be doing. We want to be communicating with officials and the people on the ground in Liberia and forming connections. Because once you know what you have to do, what else is there to talk about? If you notice, most of our conversations is geared around getting people to understand the concept of what nationhood actually means. Like in the beginning of, if you listen to this archive, you go back to the beginning, the interaction we were having with Flames. And like I said, I don't know if he was trolling or what he was being serious, but the dynamic that was there is still valid to the point that I'm making. He's thinking that we're trying to go, like when you go into Liberia, that we're going in as BAIO. No, the BAIO is a means to an end. It's a social network so you can connect people from the continent with diaspora Africans, so we can form networks with each other. It's not about protecting, like other people who I won't mention had this same philosophy of protecting this African American culture. Listen, I'm down with a cosmopolitan Black nation. I want to learn from all of the ethnic groups that's there. Everybody has their own way of talking, their own way of dressing. Everybody has their own um, way of expressing reality. It's not a conflict to have all of these things, just like it's not a conflict to be in New York surrounded by Chinese, Italians, Koreans, and you break down ethnic groups within ethnic groups. You got 1,000 ethnic groups in New York City, yet New York City is stable. So I don't understand why everybody thinks that because you have an ethnicity, like Jabari said, people don't understand the difference between ethnicity and nationality. So I guess we got to do like a course where we do like remedial, like a LIN course or something.
Holla. Quick thing. I just put something in the private chat for a second. But anyways, yeah, I absolutely
Okay.
agree with what you're saying. Hold
Could be, but they're behaving. So
on.
as long as they behave,
Yeah.
everything's cool.
Because like the
Yeah,
trolls, they was wild, and so. But
yeah.
anyway, I absolutely agree. But yeah, but it's absolutely the truth. Now, I do agree that I understand they do require solutions, and I absolutely agree. I
Hmm.
absolutely agree. But at the end of the day, um, you're right. It requires solutions. But the thing about it is, solutions require. Yeah, he's right. People link race and ethnicity as something when it's not. They're two separate things. Um, they're two separate things. But you're right. We do want to focus on solutions. I'm trying to focus on solutions. But the thing about it is, in order to do solutions, it requires us all to come together. Holla and me can't solve the issues by ourselves. You, the black market, we can't do it by ourselves. It
Right,
requires a group collective.
right.
So that's why for us, until we get to Liberia, we're just making these videos because once we get to Liberia, we'll be able to actually make solutions because we'll be able to do things. We
Hmm.
haven't been able to do anything because we're not on the ground yet, or we don't have much people on the ground yet. So once we're able to speak with people and we're able to get the get go and get stuff going, is when we can actually go forward because we would have something to um to present to people. Because if I were to go to you, the black market, and say, for example, we want you, this is our solution, but we haven't even been able to get to that solution yet. We haven't even gotten to the place yet. You're going to be like, I need to see it to believe it. Because that's what a lot of our people are. A lot of our people are see it to believe it. They have to see it to believe it. And unless we're on the continent, unless we have people put together, they're not going to believe us. I mean, yes, there are a lot of African Americans who have sympathies that we do. And granted, there are a lot more African Americans that agree with us than disagree with us. But they need to be able to see things. They need to be able to see that the Liberian government is giving them citizenship. They need to be able to see the fact that the Liberian government is giving them go ahead for diaspora cities and CBDs. Once they see that, then the solutions have been solved, and then we can go full steam.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are at the moment. And that's why I can't wait for this Liberia trip. Because once we do the Liberia trip and we speak to these people and we have these deep conversations that we should be having, we can go further.
Right. And I think we're a proper representation of African Americans in this country. I think nobody has to feel like they're not being represented if we are the ones doing the talking.
Patrick, I'm actually gonna have to disagree with you because an example would be the ADOS situation, right? So I think you didn't see this, but I'm about to show it again on Twitter. So on Twitter, there was a situation where basically FBA ADOS, particularly ADOS, went at Howard, basically saying that they said that Howard has lost its way, right? This was the video they were talking about.
African Takeover Day at Howard University.
All right, so that was what they were talking about. And if you read the replies, she's got ratioed 7,000 likes to 5,000 quote tweets, right? And also we haven't even factored in the comments. And he said, reading this thread shows me that miseducation is a key tool in keeping a people divided. This made me a little sad today. And then you had one FBA person, and then he says, being upset a black college is celebrating African culture is insanity. Like, why? What are you talking about? Are you all right? Like,
Yeah. Do we need to call like 911 or something?
He's right. One thing is clear. The ADOS movement has successfully created an environment of disunity among black groups in America, and it seems very familiar to me. It fulfills the same role that African dictator apologists do. He said, one person said they Russian bots. He said, I know more than half these ADOS are Russian bots. Oh my God. He said, I'm beginning to think that the litany of accounts. So people are aware that like something ain't right. But you can say
man,
it's one post, but that still one post can be reflected. It's not just like, oh, this is a minor post like 2 or 3 people. This got a lot of responses. This wasn't just like, oh, 2 or 3 people responded. This was 5,000.
My thing is
quote tweets.
FBA and ADOS and whatever is claiming foundational Black Americans. So do they support this the United States government in their stance against Russia?
And also FBA and ADOS are fighting each other. Did y'all not see the video where Yvette Carnell said that FBA is the baby of her movement and that
yeah.
to ADOS? So for me, it's kind of like we ain't even got to stress out about it because people know the average African American, not people on Twitter, not people on Facebook.
Hey, are these guys? I just want to know what's the ADOS and FBA stance on Russia and Ukraine? Because I mean, to be honest with you, they shouldn't even be involved in international politics. But if you are going to be, then I'm assuming that you're going to take the same interest as your country.
Right, exactly. They've been very quiet. Well, you're right, Patrick. They've been very quiet. They've been very quiet. They want to say, oh, the U.S. shouldn't focus on this issue, not understanding this is your country.
Yeah, they bringing up reparations. You believe that?
And Patrick, I talked about earlier with the situation with Brittany Griner. If you're aware of the situation, exactly, he's right. In this situation, sounds like tribalism. Why can't Black people just celebrate our diversity? It's FBA and ADOS. But most average Black Americans realize there's no problem. Exactly, Patrick. And that's the thing that is crazy about the situation is look at what happened with Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner was an African American in Russia, right? She plays basketball in Russia overseas during the WNBA off season. She got detained by Russia, and you got African Americans, um, and you got African Americans complaining, "Oh, well, she shouldn't be detained." And I said, "Well, you claim yourself to be Americans, so they see us as Americans, so you're gonna get detained."
But wait, Jabari. This seems like an easy fix. Why don't we get the ADOS and FBA Nation to get her out of that? Oh wait, I'm sorry.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And then in my situation is, unless the U.S. government speaks out for you, you're in a situation. Exactly. That's exactly what he says. I want to say this as a global South citizen. If other oppressed people see you proudly fight for white imperial interests, you're not going to gain anyone's sympathy. And that's exactly what people don't understand. People think that African Americans think that, oh, well, why don't Africans support us? They don't support you because you propagate a situation. You have a situation where you're propping up white imperial ambitions, basically white talking points, but you want these same Africans to speak on your behalf. That doesn't make any sense. Like look at what happened in Ghana. Even in Ghana, or how many times, Hollop, have we seen African Americans get stranded in other countries and they have nobody to help assist them? The U.S. Embassy refused to help. So then where do you go?
Just sent you a message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, Chima. Don't worry about it. We know you're having connections issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't worry about it. But it's the truth. You like, how many times have we seen African Americans get stuck in countries and the U.S. Embassy doesn't help them?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do then? That doesn't make sense. And it's unfortunate, Baruti. They're talking about that the wake up call, but it's funny. Haven't y'all got y'all wake up call that you ain't getting reparations from the U.S. government? Have you guys gotten a wake up call that white society does not care about you? Because holla, while that is going on, did you see this most recent report?
You doing a screen share?
No, this is from, yeah, I'm doing a screen share, but this was from The Guardian. Sorry. Look at what it
We
reads.
got about 7 minutes, y'all. So if y'all got any questions.
Yeah, make sure to ask. Look what it says.
Oh, wait, let me get rid of that comment anyway. Hold on. Okay. U.S. white supremacist propaganda was at historically high levels in 2021. Anti-Defamation League research has revealed that the three groups, including Patriot Front, are responsible for 91%? Was it 91%?
Of activity. Yeah, 91% of activity. Yep. Throughout 2021, white supremacist propaganda was reported in all states except Hawaii. The highest levels of propaganda activity occurred in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Texas, Massachusetts, Washington, Maryland, and New York. There were also more actual events being held by extremist groups. In 2021, the ADL documented 108 white supremacist events, more than double the 53 events held last year, and the most events recorded in any of the last 5 years. They telling you, oh, they getting their wake up call in Ukraine, but y'all ain't getting. Have y'all gotten y'all wake up here in America?
You see that comment?
Yep, FBA proudly screams that they've been in every U.S. war. Yet forget the rest of the world ain't forgot that either.
Bingo.
Ooh.
Bingo. Be careful who you associate with.
Exactly. That's the thing. People gonna see you as them. And then you say, well, Black Americans didn't create it. Well, you went and fought for it.
Right.
I understand.
Your interest is America's interest. Like I said, if you don't believe me, if ADOS doesn't believe what I'm saying, if I'm just talking crap, do a trade deal with North Korea, and let's see if North Korea can ride their trucks into your state and deliver goods. Do a trade deal with Russia. Let's see if Russia can bring their ships to the shores of America and trade with you, or ride their trucks and deliver their goods
Matter
to
of
your
fact,
nation.
ADOS, I need them to answer this question. You say, how are you going to make the U.S. give you reparations? What are you going to do?
What leg do you have to stand on?
Tell us, you're not going to vote. That's not going to do anything. You voting, you don't vote Republican anyway. So you not voting Democrat is just going to ensure Republican hegemony. And then they're going to further suppress the vote. So then when they further suppress the vote, what are you going to do then?
Jabbar, you're a political guy. Let me ask you a question. If you are African American in this country and you want a certain president to be voted into office that you think represents your interests, would you have that president openly say that he's for reparations?
No.
That would be political fucking suicide. That shows you how these people they don't even know
They
how to
don't
think.
they,
They have
they
no
don't
strategy.
they don't know which side they're for reparations. You're not the majority. Look at I told this in a video about why FBA and ADOS don't make sense, right? Mississippi is the blackest state in America, yet Mississippi is a Republican dominated state. You want to know why? Even though black people make up 37% of the population, white folks make up 57% of the population. That means in order for black people to even, for Democrats to even get the majority in Mississippi, all black people would have to vote Democrat, and you would have to get at least a quarter of all white Mississippians to vote Democrat.
Good
Just
luck.
just to barely
Good luck.
get a Democratic majority. We saw with Alabama. It took black men and black women voting at 95 and 98% just to barely pull off a Roy Moore, to beat Roy Moore. And guess what happened? Doug Jones lost this round. He got destroyed against Tommy Tuberville. Because why? You don't have the numbers. That's why black voters are so pragmatic. Because black voters are thinking about the situation, ordinary black voters and black nationalists. We understand we don't live in a country that is we're the majority in. Okay. And think about it, Phil. I mean not Phil. Oh my God. I hate oh my
Freudian slip.
oh my God. Brain fart. Holla. Oh my God. But think about it, because think about it, right? Black folks will say we'll withhold our vote. All of the states that black people live in, Republicans either dominate or just about close to dominating. The states that are solid blue are actually the whitest states in America. Washington, Oregon, Illinois, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. Those are pretty white states. All of the states that black people are make up a significant amount, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Republicans dominate the political landscape. And since America runs on the electoral college system, what you do is not it's not really going to matter. Because let's say that black folks in the South say, we're not going to vote. Let's just say that. Black folks just not going to vote in the South. It's not going to do anything. You need white liberals to win. That's why. The reason why Georgia turned blue was because you got a lot of white college educated people there.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Virginia is blue, although there's one rare instance they turned red, was because you got a strong white college professional class there. Same thing with North Carolina. The only reason why those states are turning blue is you got white college educated voters.
We don't seem to understand our our position in this country.
We really don't.
Just from a
Right.
strategical standpoint, it just everything makes sense to focus on Liberia.
Mm-hmm. And Vic said it perfectly. You also have to remember that Democrats aren't serious about getting and maintaining a majority.
Right.
So right there, that compounds it.
And are the Jews 14% of the population? No. We have bigger numbers in most of these minority groups. I think the only people ahead of us is what, the Latina group,
Yeah.
maybe?
Oh yeah, exactly. And you got to factor in other immigrant groups as well. Latinos, people from Venezuela with radically different politics than we do. So you got to factor in that as well. Like he said, if we're 14% of the population, how can black folks think their vote made anyone win? Those white voters are the difference in the outcome. Exactly. And
How much of a voting percentage do the LGBTQ community contribute? No more than 5%. I know that.
right.
No more than 5%.
And
Yet they're able to yield political influence. So how important is voting again?
here's one reason why. Because, and we all know why, holla. Because there are white LGBT
Thank you.
people. That's the difference. The LGBT community is mostly led by white LGBT, not black
Right.
LGBT.
Right.
Exactly. As a
Numbers.
matter of fact, Dundada, Latino, Hispanic slash Latino is the second largest group. We're the third largest. White people are, then it's Hispanic and Latino, and then it's black, and then Asian Americans are the fastest growing group, which shows you how stupid FBA and ADOS are. You're complaining about how black immigrants are coming into the country, but Asian immigrants are coming in at the fastest rate. So they're the
Mhm.
fastest growing population. So you're against black immigrants coming into the country, so you want to be fourth. So you want it to be white, Latinos, Asian, and then black.
Immigrants and then black people.
Then what you gonna do then? Then what you gonna do then when you in the fourth?
You have no leverage. You have no leverage. How many times can we say that before it seeps in? You have no leverage. And
Right?
the
Like
leverage that you can yield, you refuse to do.
exactly. And like I said, and even with the majority, the Democrats are never interested in passing any meaningful legislation. Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema.
Yeah, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are two wings on the same damn bird.
Democrats are Republican light.
Yeah. Do you notice that? See, I make this point all the time. When it comes to policies that would affect not just black people, but every American, a single payer healthcare system would affect every American. Yet both the Democrats and the Republicans are against it. A living wage would affect most Americans. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are against it. Everything that benefits the majority of the American people, both parties are against it and will never push for it. What does that tell you?
And think about it. Think about it. Look at what happened when Nina Turner voted. Look at what happened when Nina Turner ran in Ohio. Jim Clyburn endorsed her opponent, Shontel Brown, and they flooded the airwaves with campaign money, and Shontel Brown ended up winning,
Yep.
despite the fact that she's corrupt and she's under investigation.
Yep. Because we seem to be under the impression that we believe in this savior is going to come and save us. I thought AOC was the savior.
Nope.
What happened? And this is nothing against them individually, because I've
Right.
always said, it's like, listen, you can't beat a system with an individual. You need another system.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the current events show us you need a nation because you're going to be subjected to the same treatment. Doesn't matter if you say we were not responsible. You are part of the country. You're part of the country. You will face the consequences.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
You
they
live
start a
within these
draft,
borders.
Jabari, is ADOS and FBA gonna go to the ADOS and FBA nation and protest against the draft? Oh, that's right.
You're
This
gonna
is their
go
nation.
exactly. And also, here's the thing that they forget too. He said, "I feel bad for black soldiers fighting for a country that doesn't respect them." And one of the comments rightly pointed out, they knew what they were signing themselves up for. It's not like they didn't know what they signed up for. They knew what they were signing up for. Period.
Oh yeah, it's after two hours, so we
So
better wrap it up.
anyway, y'all, this whole situation that's going on is telling us we need to be independent. This is we need to be self-sufficient because when you don't have a nation, you don't have a say. You are subjected to whatever the national policy of America has, whether
Hmm.
you like it or not. You can
Yep.
disagree. You can say America should, we should. As a matter of fact, you saying that African Americans should not focus on Russia, instead reparations. Many white Americans will see that as you being unpatriotic. Have you ever thought about that as well? So you're literally saying that when you know that white Americans are going to see you that as being unpatriotic. So would you rather be in a place where you decide your interests and what's in the best interest of your country, or would you rather be in a system where people are telling you what to think and telling you you're unpatriotic because of you dare criticizing? Anyway, I'll leave the floor with you, Holla.
I just put a link up in the group, so you can go and give the BAIO a review, positive review, or whatever review. Well, just give us some honest feedback on what you feel.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Also, Holla, I'm surprised you got rid of did TikTok take down your video?
which one?
The Applebee's one?
Did they? Hold on. Let's see. I don't think they did. Well, I checked it this morning.
Because that last one had 7,000 views on it. So no, it had 8,000, 8.3K.
Really?
Yeah, it had 8.3K. You now have close to 400 followers on TikTok.
Wow, I did not know that. Hold on. Oh, they did. They put a community guidelines against it. Somebody must have got offended.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you got
I,
over.
I use those as a badge of honor.
Mhm.
Why would they? That's really strange that they would. Well, maybe somebody reported it. That's probably what it is, because there wasn't
Yeah.
nothing in there that would justify them taking it down.
Mhm.
That's weird. I got to check into that after we're done. But in the meantime, what I want to say is, click on that link, give the BAIO a review, give us some feedback. Like I said, join the all our social media outlets. Make sure you join the website. Make sure you share the content, because we need to have engagement. You know, if you look on these videos, try and find a video that Holla is not commenting on and not giving a thumbs up to. I don't think you'll be able to find one. So I'm doing my part. You guys do yours, because the more we interact and engage with the content, the more the system and the algorithm says, hey, people want to see this. That's how come the TikTok video got so much traction, is because people were sharing it around and people were engaging and talking about it.
Oh yeah, but last time before they took down your video, it had 8,000 views. 8,400 views.
Wow.
You had 85 comments and you had about 52 shares.
Wow. Yeah, man. So that's what gets the algorithm liking the content. People have to comment, give the thumbs up, give the like, but comment and share, because that's what the system is really looking at. How many people are engaging in this content? And I know you can't comment on the video while we're in the live stream, but the moment this thing's archives, you have the ability to comment on it. So you know, if everybody makes it an effort to do that, then we're going to get a lot of sharing and a lot of traction. So I just wanted to say that.
And with that, y'all, of course, we have the lounge coming up. Make sure you join that if you're a BIO member. It will be at 8:30. We're gonna do 8:30, 9 o'clock, because I don't think 8 o'clock will be the best. So what would you? Yeah. So that's what we have going on later tonight. But anyway, that's the live stream. Thank you guys for staying here with us, and of course, you know, we're looking forward to the Liberia trip.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace, fam.